Um, so the other day I was making cornbread, as I'm wont to do. And my friend came up to me and was like, it tastes even better if you mix in some yellow cake mix. And I was like, first of all, I'm from Indiana, you Rocky Mountain rube. You don't tell me how to make corn anything. Second of all, of course it would taste better. That would be cake. Cake tastes better than most things. But that's not really what I'm going for here. That would be like if I was changing the oil in my car and you're like, that would work better if you drove a Jaguar. So last week I was eating York peppermint patties. And after my 5th York peppermint patty, I was still unhappy. I guess what I'm trying to say is the world doesn't make as much sense as I thought it did. Alright. So this next story is 100% true, and I want you to remember that the whole time I'm telling it, okay? So I was in my first college apartment, and there was a knock at the door, and I was still young and naive, so I answered it. And it was Brad Wilcox. For those of you who didn't just, Brad Wilcox is kind of a pseudo-celebrity in the church. He's a professor here at BYU. He's a pseudo-celebrity, kind of like Brandon Sanderson or Provo Life. And I knew him back in Indiana. I knew him when the only members of the church I knew were Gordon B. Hinckley and my parents. So he rings my doorbell, I answer it, and he says, "Would you like 120 donuts?" And I said, "Yes, Brad Wilcox." Who is at my house. I would love 120 donuts. He then pulls out a catering box filled with 120 donuts. And he hands it to me, and then cracks a whip outside my vision. And a chariot of fire carries him off into the sky. And the chariot has donuts for wheels. This is a fun fact to bring up in your next gospel doctrine class. The word we translate as mantle could be more accurately translated as a box of 120 donuts. So I'm there in my apartment, I have 5 roommates and 120 donuts, and my 4th grade word problem skills start kicking in. And I loved the answer. I went to my roommates and I was like, okay, we can each have 20 donuts as long as no one tells Nice David. As an aside, me and my roommate are both named David. To differentiate us, sometimes people will call him Nice David and me David. We can't tell Nice David because he will want to share this 120 donuts with 120 people. Like an idiot. Nice David chose that very moment to walk in. And don't worry, he didn't hear me. He doesn't hear bad things. He's like, it's a superpower. He walked in and said, "Wow, 120 donuts. That's enough for everyone in our building." And I said, "No! No, David! You communist scum! These are our 120 donuts." And he said, do you really need 120 donuts? And I said, no one needs any donuts. You champagne socialist. Need isn't what donuts are for. says, how often do you get to share donuts with everyone you know? And I said, how often do you get to eat 20 donuts by yourself? You pinko. And then he looked down on me and he said, let he who is without sin eat the first donut. And I looked up at him halfway through my third donut. And I refused to be ashamed. The next day, Nice David, aka Chairman Mao, took the remaining 80 donuts to a ward social, where they were devoured by dozens of ingrates who hadn't earned their handouts like I had. But that's the thing I honestly love about Nice David the most. He was willing to take bread from our mouths to do what he thought was right. But that's also what I love most about me. I had 20 donuts in one day.